There are lines that humans are simply not meant to cross, limits defined by common sense, basic decency, and the sanctity of grief. Most people understand this, but Karen was the type of person who would stomp across those boundaries with a smile. It all began with Mr. Wilson. He was a homeowner who, much like me, refused to bow to Karen's nonsense. He didn't care for her arbitrary fines or her clipboard tyranny. Because of our mutual refusal to be bullied by a woman who treated HOA bylaws like weapons, we were constant thorns in her side. We questioned her authority, challenged her penalties, and stayed silent when she expected applause. While Mr. Wilson was a quiet man, his silence carried weight. We weren't close friends, we didn't share beers or barbecues, but we shared a bond forged by a refusal to be intimidated. When news broke that Mr. Wilson had fallen ill, I initially dismissed it as a seasonal cold. But soon, whispers turned into heavy conversations. At the next HOA meeting, Mrs. Wilson stood before us, her voice thin and her eyes hollow. She told us the truth: he was dying. The hospital bills were drowning them, and she asked for help with a rare kind of humility. In a room Karen had spent years draining of warmth, something human happened. Wallets opened, envelopes were passed, and promises of support were made. That was until Karen interrupted. Tapping her pen like a judge's gavel, she declared Mr. Wilson a debtor and a rule breaker. She claimed he didn't deserve charity and warned that contributing to his cause was dangerous because it supported defiance. I tried to reason with her, reminding her that this was about a human life, not landscaping codes. She simply spoke over me, her eyes blazing with an authority she believed was her birthright. However, for the first time, the neighborhood ignored her. The money kept moving toward Mrs. Wilson. As the meeting ended, Karen stood frozen, watching compassion slip through her fingers. I noticed a dark, patient look settle in her eyes. She was making a mental list of everyone who had defied her. After the meeting, I visited Mrs. Wilson privately to give her an anonymous envelope of cash. She broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the secret kindness of neighbors who felt they had to hide their generosity from Karen's watchful glare. Meanwhile, Karen began to unravel. She knocked on doors uninvited, warning people that helping the Wilsons was siding with the enemy. But her threats rang hollow and doors were shut in her face. Then the inevitable happened. Mr. Wilson passed away. The neighborhood mourned collectively. Candles lined porches and meals were delivered in silence. I hoped that death might finally bring Karen a sense of shame. I was wrong. At the next meeting, Karen officially announced his death, not with a moment of silence but by asking who would settle his outstanding fines. She listed parking violations and grass height citations issued while the man was literally on his deathbed. Some people laughed in disbelief, others walked out. Karen didn't flinch. To her, rules didn't die with people. She had fined a man for absence when his car wasn't in the driveway because he was in the hospital. Punishment was her only hobby. The funeral was held under a somber, quiet sky. The entire neighborhood showed up in a rare display of unity to support Mrs. Wilson. Stories were shared, and for a moment we felt like a community again. Then the roar of an engine shattered the peace. Karen's SUV screeched into the cemetery, tires crunching gravel. She burst out of the car, waving papers and screaming that the gathering was unauthorized. She shouted that funerals required HOA approval and that Mr. Wilson was an enemy who owed debts even in death. I stepped forward to stop her, telling her this was sacred ground. She ignored me, shoving past mourners and knocking over flower stands. When she reached for the casket stand, ranting about enforcement, the crowd gasped in horror. Without a word, I caught the eye of the undertaker. As Karen lunged toward the coffin, we grabbed her. She shrieked, kicked, and spat insults, but we restrained her. Someone handed me a rope from a supply truck, and we secured her wrists firmly while others called the police. Neighbors pulled out their phones, filming as Karen thrashed on the ground, red-faced and screaming about lawsuits and lifetime bans. For the first time, beside the casket she tried to tip, Karen looked small and powerless. The police arrived to a scene that no one could spin in Karen's favor. The footage was clear and the witnesses were many. Karen was arrested on the spot for disorderly conduct, assault, vandalism, and interference with a funeral. Her precious clipboard was taken as evidence. In court, the judge was appalled. When asked why rules mattered more to her than humanity, Karen had no answer. She was fined heavily, ordered into mandatory counseling, and permanently barred from any HOA leadership position in the county. She even served a brief jail sentence that forever tarnished her reputation. Back at the HOA, the aftermath was a revelation. Audits discovered years of fabricated fines and illegal penalties. The board was dissolved and rebuilt with transparency and restraint. Refunds were issued and Mr. Wilson's name was officially cleared. Today, a memorial bench stands exactly where Karen used to park her car to write tickets. The neighborhood finally breathes again. We learned that courage multiplies when shared and that no bylaw should ever outweigh basic human dignity. What do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved, or was the neighborhood too harsh? Let me know in the comments.